What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to Ages of Film. As you can tell by the title, today I'm going to be ranking all 15 films by director M. Night Shyamalan. So, M. Night, pretty famous filmmaker, right? Known more so for his horror slash thriller, suspense type of movies, but he's done a variety of films. So, I've done a few of these director filmography rankings where I've gone in and just ranked all the films by certain director, certain filmmaker. You can go check out the ones I've done in the playlist, director's filmography. This one will be in there as well. So we're doing M. Night today. Gonna go in and rank all his films. Just as a reminder and a disclaimer, guys, this is just my opinion on these movies. There's no need to be upset or offended by anything I have to say or by any positioning of any of these movies. Feel free to let me know your ranking of M. Night's movies in the comments section. All I ask that you be respectful and we can have a fun conversation there. If you're new to my channel, what's up? Thank you for being here. Please smash that like button. It's a way to help out the channel. And if you're enjoying the content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's another way to help out the channel. For any new subscribers I have, thank you very much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into talking M. Night Shyamalan. To me, M. Night he's an interesting guy because I think that his movies really vary. He's got quite a range of films, in my opinion. He's got movies that don't really work, aren't very good, all the way to films that are just great films. So he's got, he's not a very consistent director, I'll say that, as far as quality. The movies that I don't think are very good are not very good. But then, like I said, movies that I think are great are really great. So he's not like a Christopher Nolan or a Tarantino, these directors that consistently put out great films. M. Night's movies are kind of both ends of the spectrum here. So we'll start from the bottom, 15 movies, work our way up to number 1. So coming in at the bottom for me is Praying with Anger. This was M. Night's first feature film that he did pretty young when he made this movie, and it can kind of tell. I don't think the quality here is very good. I have a number of issues with the cinematography, a number of issues personally with the sound in the film. I also don't think the acting is that great. M. Night stars in this movie himself, and I just don't think that M. Night really works as an actor. I think he's suited much better as a writer and as a director than he is an actor. I don't really think that's his forte, and it really kind of stands out for me. And because he's the lead actor in this film, it really kind of weighs this film down for me because I don't really care for his acting. I don't really invest with his character all that much. The story itself really isn't that intriguing to me. So this is a movie that just doesn't really have much going for it. I'd give it 1.5 stars. It's my number 15. Coming in at number 14, we have his most recent, so we're going to go to the other end of his career, his most recent film, Knock at the Cabin, released I think just a year or two ago. Knock at the Cabin, I'd give this movie 2 stars. I still don't think it's a very good film, but there are some things that I appreciate about it, things that I respect about it. I do think the cinematography here is actually really good. I like what M. Night does with the camera. I think the sound is actually pretty good as well. The editing seems pretty fluid, good cuts. It's structured pretty well, so I think the editing is a positive for me as far as my experience with the film. Things that enhanced my experience. I also think that the script itself, the story here is kind of an interesting story. I don't know that it fully connected with me. It fully landed. I see what he was doing. I think there was some potential there, some interesting concepts going into it. I just don't know that the execution of the story or the script fully worked for me personally. So Knock at the Cabin, I would give 2 stars. Down here towards the bottom, some of the acting was pretty good as well. I think Dave Bautista stood out for me. I think he was clearly the best talent in this film. I also didn't really fully connect with the characters that much either. I just didn't really care all that much about these characters. So Knock at the Cabin for me is pretty low. Coming in above Knock at the Cabin at number 13, we have The Happening. Now, this is a movie that I tend to see at the bottom of people's list when they talk M. Night Shyamalan. I've heard a lot of criticisms of this movie. I personally, I don't know that I fully agree with all of it. I don't think it's as bad as a movie. I don't think it's that bad of a film. It's not a very good film. It's a 2-star movie for me. But I don't think it's as bad as what a lot of people make it out to be. I certainly don't think it's his worst. I certainly think that there are things that I think enhance the experience with the film. For me personally, Mark Wahlberg is very entertaining, so I'm invested with him as a character. I think he's a likable character. There's a couple of characters here that I do kind of like and invest in with somewhat. I think the cinematography is pretty good. The story itself, though, is where I don't know that this film fully lands or connects with me. I'm just not that intrigued or that invested with the story here. It doesn't really work for me. A couple of the characters I kind of like, but I think they also are missing a few things. So overall, it's a 2-star film. That's about it. Not a very good movie, but I also don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. So third from the bottom, number 13, 2-star film. Coming in at number 12, this one might be a little bit of a hot take. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going with Glass from 2019. I saw this one in theaters. I don't think it was very good. I really don't think it was that good of a film. A 2-star movie for me. For one, I thought it was incredibly slow. The pacing was really bad. I got bored. All the way up until the 3rd act, I really wasn't invested that much in this movie. I think that it took way too time to build up to the climax. I thought that the climax itself was also pretty weak and pretty anticlimactic. I know it's an expression that gets overused, but I thought it was that. I also didn't really care for the story. I don't really feel like this movie did much or really had anything to say or was really exploring anything. I don't think the script was all that well written. Some of the dialogue I don't think was fully landed. So while the actors themselves are talented actors, James McAvoy, obviously you have Samuel L. Jackson in the film, and of course Bruce Willis. But I just don't know that their characters were written that well in this movie for me to fully invest or connect with them. Again, some pretty cool stuff with the camera, pretty good score, but overall, it was definitely a letdown for me. So 2-star film. It's number 12 on my list. Coming in at number 11, we have Wide Awake. This was M. Night's second feature film. I think it's from '98, somewhere around there. Has Rosie O'Donnell in it. The kid in this movie, I thought for a kid actor, I thought he does pretty good. This would be a 2.5-star film, so we're going up a tier to decent area. I don't think this is a bad film, but I also don't know that it's a film I'm gonna really come back to again in the future. Just doesn't really have much rewatch value to it. It was good for kind of a one-time watch. I think it definitely has a story there that connects, that hits for me, hits kind of the emotional button there, especially at the end of the movie, and where the story goes and what happens. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil. I'm trying to keep this pretty reasonably spoil free. I don't know who has seen what movies on M. Night's filmography, so I'm trying to keep it reasonably spoiler free. But yeah, Wide Awake was decent. It's got some heart to it. It definitely has an emotional punch to it. I did invest in the story. I was intrigued in the story, and kind of where they were taking it intrigued me. I was invested. The characters, though, I don't know that I fully connected with. I did feel something for the kid. I think you naturally have some sympathy for this kid that's trying to cope with the loss of his grandfather. That I can resonate with. So you do feel something, I think, for the kid, and I think he's a decent actor for a child actor. So the acting was decent. I just don't know, again, that it carries much rewatch value to it. The tone, just kind of the atmosphere of the film, it's not something that's really going to lure me in for multiple rewatches. So kind of a one and done, but a decent film. Coming in at number 10, we have The Last Airbender. Another movie that I see towards the bottom of people's list. I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's decent. 2.5 stars. It's got some things going for it. I think it's, pretty well directed. Some cool visual effects. I like the premise here is kind of interesting. I can kind of invest with some of the characters. I think everything, all the extra stuff to enhance the film experience, for the most part, I think works and lands for me. But it also lacks a few things for me. It lacks kind of that emotional impact, and I think that's because I don't fully connect or invest with these characters. It's an interesting idea as far as a concept for a story, but there's also issues with the script and with some of the characters. So Last Airbender, overall, a decent film, 2.5 stars. Coming in at number 9, we have Unbreakable. And now I know this one's going to be a hot take, being so low. A lot of people seem to love this movie. I'm not one of them. I don't dislike it. It's a good film. This would be a 3-star movie for me. I like the movie. I'm just not as, rah-rah about it as a lot of other people are. For me, I think it moves really slow. Everything about this movie just seems very, very slow. Slow built, slow character progression, slow pacing. Just everything about this movie is just very slow. I don't know if that was intentional by M. Night or if that's just a subjective experience with the movie. I don't know. But for me, when I watch this movie, it just feels like everything is taking forever to happen. So because of that, I don't fully connect the way that I would want to connect with this movie. Bruce Willis is entertaining. It's Bruce Willis. I like seeing him on screen. I kind of like his character, but his character also just seems really just a little too deflated for me. A little too, feeling sorry for himself. Kind of like there's not a lot of like likable quality to him. Like he doesn't bring much energy. He's not a guy that's really motivated to really do anything. So I like Bruce Willis, and I think he brings something to the performance. But as a character, the character writing here, I think, is kind of weak for me. Also, the story, it's like he was trying to do a superhero movie, but I don't know that story really worked for me personally. So yeah, Unbreakable. It's probably the biggest hot take of this video. 3-star movie, number 9. Number 8, I have The Village from 2004, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah, she's in this movie. A good movie. Again, 3-star film. I like it. I think it's interesting. For me, I think where it goes in that third act, it was kind of a bummer. They build, I think they build it pretty well through the first 2 acts, but then the reveal of where the story was going in the third act kind of lets this film down some for me. It still has some things going for it. I think it's well shot. I like the sound effects that he uses. The visual effects look pretty good. The production design looked really good here. I like the performances by the actors. I'm invested in the story. It's got things going for it, but overall, I don't know that it holds a lot of rewatch value because of that ending, and the decision of where they go with it kind of pulls me out quite a bit for this film. So overall, The Village, good movie. Number 8, 3 stars. Coming in at number 7, we have Old from 2020, 2021. I think that Old is another one of those M. Night films that gets misunderstood quite often. When I've heard a lot of people try to talk about this movie or try to explain this movie, I personally feel like they misunderstand this film and misinterpret what M. Night was going for in this movie. And if you don't interpret this film in a certain way, I think it can negatively affect your experience. I don't think you will get a good experience with this movie if you don't see it through a certain lens. For me, I think I see what M. Night was trying to say in this movie. I think it's a movie that does have something to say. It's got a message to it. And I think it's a powerful message really about time and about how we waste our time often and how we don't cherish time with loved ones as much as we should. And he kind of plays with that theme and kind of pursues different, consequences of wasting time, things that happen over time with relationships and people. I think it's an interesting idea. I do like the film overall as an experience. I think the things that are there to enhance the experience work for me. The sound, the production design, well, it wasn't really much production design because a lot of it was just shot on the beach, but the cinematography looked really good. I think for me, where this movie hurts is more in the acting and the characters themselves. I don't know I fully connect with them. The acting seemed a little weak for the most part. So, Old, 3-star film, number 7. Coming in at number 6, we have After Earth. We're going up to 3.5-star tier now with this one. I think After Earth is a really good movie. I think it's got a lot of heart to it with Will Smith and his son. I think the story here is, again, a story that has a message to it. It's a story that's got something to say. That's something that M. Night is typically very good at, is putting something in his story, in his films, that actually has heart, that has something to say, has a message to it, something that you can take away from the film. And I think After Earth absolutely has that. And I think it kind of follows the journey of this kid's journey to become a man, and learning from his father, learning to face his fear, learning to make the importance of making decisions and how every decision has a price that comes with it. I also think Will Smith does a really good job here in his performance, because he has to show a lot of restraint, and it's always harder to bring emotion out through your performance when you're having to pull back and restrain those emotions. It's harder to convey those emotions when you're having to pull back and show a lot of restraint. And that's what Will Smith's character has to do in this movie. So Will Smith, as an actor, has to really bring it in order to convey the certain emotions that need to be conveyed through his character. And I think Will Smith does a really good job at that in this movie. So I'm invested with him as a character. I'm invested with his son as a character. The story it's kind of a sci-fi adventure movie. The script itself is kind of decent. The story itself is kind of decent, but I think the message there and the meaning of what M. Night was going for has heart to it, and it does something for me. So it is a really good film overall. 3.5 stars. It's my number 6. Coming in at number 5, we have Lady in the Water. Another film that I see towards the bottom of a lot of people's lists. I like it quite a bit. 3.5 star film. When I thought about this movie a little more, at first when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I don't know that was a really good film. And then I watched it back, and I actually did really like it. I think it does have a lot of heart to it. Paul Giamatti is great in the movie. Bryce Dallas Howard does a fine job. It's kind of, I think what brings this film down a little for me is in the script. I feel like M. Night was trying to do a little too much here. I think he was maybe influenced by some of the scripts, really complex scripts by like Nolan or Stanley Kubrick or some other directors that have movies with really complex scripts. And I feel like M. Night maybe got a little in over his head a little bit with the script, trying to flush everything out. I don't know that it fully worked for me. So I do think the editing and the script writing could have been better here, but where he was going with the movie, I think works, and the story works, and the characters work for me. I think the performances were pretty good. I think all the technical enhancements work for me. So overall, I do think it's a really good movie. 3.5 stars, and it's my number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have The Visit. This is a found footage movie, which I'm kind of indifferent on. I know a lot of people don't like found footage movies. I'm indifferent on them. I don't dislike them, but I wouldn't say they're like a go-to type of subgenre either for me. But when they're done right, I think they're really good. But when they're done poorly, they can be really bad. I think this one is actually done really well. I do really like The Visit. A different subgenre for M. Night to tackle. He hadn't done a found footage movie like this before, so it was something different for him to try and tackle. And I think he does a really good job with it. I think he handles it well. I really like the story. I'm invested with the characters here. It definitely has moments that are really creepy. I've only seen this movie once, and it's still stuck with me. Ever since I seen it for the first time. So I definitely want to go back and watch the movie again. I think this movie has the possibility to go up for me, honestly. I have it at 3.5 stars, but again, I think it could move up to 4. I don't know that it could get up to 4.5 stars, because one thing that I think lacked for me with this film was any type of like message or like meaning takeaway for me. It's a really good found footage movie and a film that I really enjoyed. I think M. Night handled the tension scenes really well, the suspense really well. I liked the characters, I liked the story, I liked the direction. For me, what lacked was kind of that what M. Night typically has in his movies, and that's that meaning, that heart to it, you know. So for me, I don't know that I could go anything above a 4, but I think it has the possibility on rewatches to at least maybe get to that 4-star tier. But for now, I have it 3.5 stars. It's my number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Split. This is the first 4-star movie. To me, this is a great film. I really loved Split. I saw it in theaters, had a great time with it. I think that McAvery, it's James McAvery, right? Not Avery. I think it's James McAvery. McAvery does a really good job. I mean, he's got to show a wide range here with all the different personalities that he's got to play and portray. He's got a lot. He's got his hands full. He's got a lot to juggle, and I think he pulls it off. I mean, he does a really good job in his performance here. I think the girl, what's her name? She's been in a lot of really good movies. The main girl in this film, I think she does a really good job as well in her performance. There's certain subtleties and nuances that she shows that I think really bring a lot emotionally to her character and to her performance. So I think she does a really good job. But McAvery kind of, I mean, this is his film. I mean, this is his chance. This is M. Night really pushing him to the front of the line with actors and saying, show off your talent. And he does, and he does a great job in it. Really interesting story. I was a psychology major when I was in college the first time, and so I'm always kind of intrigued by mental disorders and behavior disorders and stuff that's going on here. Really fascinate me. So I'm really intrigued with the story. I really like the story here. I follow it. I'm invested all the way through. The characters are well written, so it's got a lot going for it. Character driven, story driven, and it really works for me. So it's a great film. I have a really good time with it. It's my number 3. Now, coming into the top 2, 1 and 2, both of these next two are 4.5 star films for me. So they're both great films. And if anyone wants to flip these, I really don't have a big problem with it. They're both 4.5 star movies. But for me, my number 2 is Signs. I love Signs. Signs is a great film. Mel Gibson brings his A game. Joaquin Phoenix brings his A game. The kids bring their A game. It's a really well written and really well directed kind of sci-fi suspense horror film. You know, with these aliens that have invaded Earth and are trying to send a message to humanity. I think there's a really deep meaning here as well. You know, Mel Gibson has lost his wife in this movie, and he's trying to move on from that, raise these kids as a single dad, and he's questioning God, questioning the higher power, and questioning the meaning to everything. And that's something that I think resonates with us. I think everyone has that moment in their life where they question, what is this all about? What is life all about? Is there a God? Is there a higher power? That's something that we all have to wrestle with and answer, on our own. No one can make that decision for you. I've said on my channel, I'm a Christian. I do believe in God. That's my personal faith and religion, but everyone is different. Everyone has to make that decision for themselves. But I think that this movie pursues some really deep spiritual meaning here and raises some interesting questions. Just a great film. It's got a lot of heart to it. I think it's well put together, and it's a film it's also very rewatchable. I can definitely come back to this movie often and have a good time with it. Also, some subtle moments of humor in the film that still land for me when I come back and watch it. The scene that always gets a laugh out of me when Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix run out of the house, and they're running around the house trying to act as a distraction, and the dialogue that they say in that scene is pretty good. It gets a good laugh out of me every time. So yeah, Signs, 4.5-star film. Love it. It's my number 2. And my number 1, obviously the only movie I haven't mentioned, which is of course The Sixth Sense. This is probably M. Night's best film. I think most people would agree with that. Seems to be number 1 on most people's list for good reason. This is a great film. The reveal, the twist in this film is so well set up and executed by M. Night. It really works. From a first experience, a first time viewing experience, when you see that reveal, I didn't see it coming. It definitely worked for me in my viewing experience, because it threw me for a loop. But watching this movie multiple times over the years, it's actually, M. Night really he kind of reveals the answer to you subtly throughout the movie. And I think it's cool when you watch it back, seeing just little things throughout the film that kind of give the answer away. You don't pick up on it your first time because you're so invested in the story and in these characters. But once you come back to it over the years, you kind of start noticing how M. Night is kind of waving the treat in front of you, and you start picking up on things. But a great film, very rewatchable. It's got a lot of heart, especially that last scene with the kid and his mom, Toni Collette, who does a great job in this movie. One of her best performances. She really brings it in this film. And the scene with her and her son at the end, where they're sitting in the car and they just completely just become super vulnerable with each other, and it's a very tender moment, but a very powerful moment as well. And it definitely hits emotionally. I think Bruce Willis does a really great job in this movie as well. One of his better performances. The story is very well written, well crafted. The script is tightly edited, well put together, and I'm invested with the story and with these characters. So yeah, great film. 4.5 stars. Doesn't quite get to that 5-star tier for me personally. Anyone that wants to put it there, I'm fine with that. For me, I just the other enhancement parts of the film, like the cinematography, the sound, the score, all the other extra components that are there to enhance your viewing experience, don't fully get me to the 5-star tier with this movie. They're good. It's nothing necessarily that's bad, but it's not enough to lift this film to that 5-star tier level for me personally. But the performances, the character, the story, all that absolutely works for me. So Sixth Sense is my number 1 for M. Night Shyamalan, 4.5 stars. That's my ranking of his movies. Let me know your ranking in the comment section. What did you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know anything and everything you want to let me know about M. Night or about my ranking in the comments section. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, kick it and rock on.